We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning. It is 9:08 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. You can watch the show. We are live on Super Talk TV, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We always have the best chat in all of conservative talk radio, jumping on the YouTube channel. You're always welcome to join the show other ways as well. Text line, phone lines are open. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. We got a lot to get to. It's going to be a lot of recap from what happened over the weekend in Minnesota. At this point, I'm wondering what else the president needs to see to go full Insurrection Act. These are the questions that we're going to be asking. We also have our friend Bernadette Pager from Tennessee Health Freedom. She's going to be joining us at about 10:05. There's a new bill making its way through the legislative session, and it has to do with, I believe it's Roundup and glyphosate and all those kind of things. And Bernadette is a great source of information on this, so she'll be joining us in studio at around 10:05. We got Mason Fleming back in the producer chair. How was news this morning, Mason? You get this text from the wife, and the wife says that you did a pretty good job.
I feel like you're lying to me right now.
I'm not lying. I literally have the text.
He can't take any compliments on today at all, man.
You know, like he
It's
doesn't.
weird.
He's.
I just don't do that. No.
You want to make Mason feel uncomfortable? Say
Compliment me.
Say something nice about him.
Dude, I break down so fast.
Say something nice, and he'll immediately question all of it.
I'll compliment others all day long. If I get one, I'm like, liar.
I thought you did good.
I appreciate it, though. I really do.
Yeah, no,
It was
great
fun.
job,
It was getting used to it and feeling out, getting comfortable it took a second, but I'm thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Are you doing it again anytime soon?
Not that I know of. I think Jay's in tomorrow morning.
You didn't do that good of a job.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
listen.
I'm just joking. I thought you did awesome. Mason's a pro. He does a great job producing the show. I'm glad that you're getting some other opportunities around here. Let's talk about Minnesota, don't you know, shall we? President Trump, True Social, over the weekend. ICE is removing some of the most violent criminals in the world from our country and bring them back home where they belong. Why is Minnesota fighting this? Do they really want murderers and drug dealers to be ensconced in their community? The thugs that are protesting include many highly paid professional agitators and anarchists. Is this really what Minnesota wants? The crooked governor and Congresswoman Omar, who married her brother, don't mind because it keeps the focus of attention off the $18 billion plus fraud that has taken place in the state. Don't worry, we're on it. That's Donald Trump over the weekend. Also over the weekend, Stephen Miller hammering Tim Walz, hammering Jacob Fry, and asking the question that we're all asking, when When do we get the Insurrection Act? I feel like it's about time. Stephen Miller was on Laura Trump's show on Fox News. This is what it sounded like.
Yes, well, sanctuary cities are jurisdictions that shield and shelter criminal illegal aliens from deportation. So, for example, in Minneapolis and Minnesota, when an illegal alien commits a crime and is deportable and can and should be removed from the country, the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota prevent ICE from arresting and deporting the offender, even when they are charged or convicted of heinous crimes, including crimes against women, crimes against children, crimes of violence, and instead they release them back onto the street where they can continue to reoffend. So ICE over and over and over again goes out into the community to find and arrest these fugitives who have since committed additional egregious crimes after they were released by Fry and Waltz and Ellison. These are acts of insurrection against the laws of the United States and against the sovereignty of the United States. Foreign illegal aliens who broke into this country, who then raped children, who committed human trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, protected, shielded, sheltered, coddled, defended at every level by the leadership in Minnesota. And then when ICE goes out to make these arrests, they unleash violent mobs to attack, assault, and impede ICE officers. And they refuse to allow the city police to protect those ICE officers in the conduct of their duties.
And you saw that all weekend long, mind you, at all the protests, all the violence that we saw. There wasn't really any Minneapolis police anywhere to be seen. Weird. Donald Trump is monitoring the situation, and we have heard that 1,500 troops may soon deploy to Democrat-run Minnesota. Basically, as soon as Donald Trump pulls the trigger on the Insurrection Act, a surge of 1,500 U.S. troops are ready to go. Breitbart has the story. 1,500 U.S. troops may soon be in Democrat-controlled Minnesota as leftist protest immigration operations and the fraud scandal linked to the state's Somali community deepens. Senior U.S. official told Fox News the Trump administration is preparing the troops for a possible deployment in the U.S. Army's 11th Airborne Division, which is based in Alaska and specializes in cold weather and mountain warfare, has given prepare to deploy orders, the outlet reported Sunday. It's about time. We need to pull the trigger on this. It was chaos over the weekend, and I'm sure that you saw some of it. Nick Sorter was out there doing his investigative journalism on the street, camera stolen from him by a Somali. The police, I have all the audio too. When he finally gets a hold of the police, they say, you guys should probably leave. They did the victim shaming. Like, oh, well, yeah, you were sexually assaulted, but should you have been wearing that? Essentially is what they were doing to conservative journalists in the area. You guys should leave. What did you think was going to happen? You had another protest with Jake Lang. It was a small pro-ICE, anti-Islam rally at City Hall that got flooded by ICE paid agitators, and they assaulted Jake Lang. They pulled him into the crowd. He left bloodied, bleeding, barely getting into a vehicle to escape while he's being kicked and spit at and cursed at by these leftists. Then you had what happened at the church Sunday morning inside Minnesota, where the ICE agitators, the paid agitators who are just trying to impede, trying to obstruct, said, you know where we're going to go? We're going to go into a church. Oh, my gosh. I don't know about you, but the first thought that crossed my mind was a little try that in a small town. I don't think it would have gone as peacefully as they had hoped, but golly, what are we doing here? And the local authorities in Minnesota continue to sit on their hands. It is disgusting. It would have been disgusting already if we didn't see the events unfold the way they unfolded over the weekend. But at this point, I wonder what the administration is waiting for. 1,500 active duty soldiers currently on standby in Alaska to be deployed to Minnesota. Again, Fox News had the report over the weekend. I'm here for it. I wish that they already did it.
The sun hasn't risen yet, but once it does here in Minnesota, it is likely that there will be more demonstrations today. We are entering week 3 of unrest here, and the clashes between law enforcement and protesters are showing no signs of slowing down. There was yet another tense day here yesterday. Outside of that ICE federal facility, law enforcement holding the line against angry protesters who can be heard screaming, "Kill yourself," and "Un-American" to law enforcement. The Washington Post is reporting the Pentagon has ordered about 1,500 active duty soldiers to prepare for possible deployment here to Minnesota if violence escalates. Now, Governor Tim Walz also mobilized the Minnesota National Guard yesterday. The Guard staged to support local law enforcement if needed, and it says it's ready to respond to locations across the metro area. Now, yesterday, protests continued outside the ICE detention center, and there was also a violent clash between counter-protesters at City Hall. President Trump has warned that he may use the Insurrection Act here in Minnesota, which would allow the federal government to use military troops to bring calm. Meanwhile, a statewide day of action is scheduled for this Friday. Activists are asking people not to attend work, school, or make purchases, and the St. Paul Federation of Educators is also asking members to get involved on Friday.
Well, hopefully we have the Insurrection Act in full effect by then, so we see no more violence, no more mayhem inside the state of Minnesota. I do wonder what the threshold is for the Trump administration, what they're going to say is the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back here, because what we saw over the weekend was that escalation that they were talking about just moments ago via that Fox News clip. We saw churches invaded. We saw conservatives beaten and robbed on numerous occasions. We saw all-out lawlessness. The only thing I didn't see were the police. The only thing I didn't see was the National Guard that Tim Walz had mobilized to keep the peace. They were nowhere to be found at all. At all. So at what point do we say enough is enough? Stephen Miller on Fox News.
Well, this is really a core question about whether or not the federal government is in charge of federal law or not. This question is foundational to the American Republic. We have one nation. We have one set of federal laws. We have one constitution. We have one law of immigration. We have one law of citizenship. If you allow a city or a state to decide immigration laws for themselves, you have an immigration law for Minnesota, you have an immigration law for Minneapolis, you have an immigration law for St. Paul, you have an immigration law for Los Angeles and for San Francisco and for New York. What you have then is total, complete anarchy and the dissolution of the American Republic. What Democrats are doing is vote harvesting, fraud harvesting, ballot harvesting, crime harvesting. Ask yourself, why would Fry, why would Walz sanction such a...
Why would they do it? Because they understand that's what keeps them in power, which is the case that Stephen Miller is making. Vote harvesting, fraud harvesting, and the like. Why would they continue to do this? Because it keeps them in power. This is why the Democrats are so anti-ICE. This is why they're fighting so hard. This is one of the reasons why I think that they're actually glad that these protests and riots are happening, because it distracts from some of the fraud that we've been talking about. But this situation is going to get worse before it gets better. And I just pray that the administration doesn't wait for something catastrophic to happen and they launch the Insurrection Act before it's too late. Keep praying for that. We had a lot more on the way. Secretary Noem of DHS was out and about all over the weekend talk shows. She faced off with Margaret Brennan. You also had the opposition side, Democrat leaders like Jacob Frey, out there making his case to the American people. We'll bring you all that audio and more on the way. A lot to get to, a little bit of time. Make sure that you're watching us on Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We will be jumping into the commercial breaks during today's show with some of the wild scenes out of Minnesota over the weekend, so you can get an uncensored, unfiltered view of what it looked like on the ground in Minneapolis over the weekend. A lot to get to. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, what's up, guys? We are back. live on the stream. We got some stuff that we can do here on the stream today that I don't know if we will be able to get on the air just because of the swear words and the all-out chaos that we saw over the weekend in Minnesota. So I'm trying to get some of that now. Let's start here. Let's start with Jake Lang, who is a conservative influencer, an independent journalist. He was a J6er. He has been in Minneapolis now for weeks since the fraud broke out. The story kind of really hit that boiling point, and he decided to have an anti-Islam, pro-ICE rally at City Hall. It was going to be fine until leftists showed up and vastly outnumbered them. And this is what the scene looked like on the ground. So they pulled Jake into the crowd, these leftists. Now, the one thing you're going to notice, or should I say not notice, is police. Now, if you watch this, Jake then starts getting beat on the back of his head with what appears to be flagpoles and the like. And Jake Lang, I mean, he's whisked away into this mob. Where are the police? Do you see any police here in the background? Do you see any National Guard members? Tim Walz mobilized the National Guard. Jake left with blood coming down the back of his head. He tried to get into a vehicle to flee. They were kicking and spitting and hitting him the entire time, cursing at him. But it was insane. It was insane. And it seems like there's no slowing down in Minnesota. There's no chill. And there's no police to stop any of it. We got a lot more. We're going to rejoin the radio broadcast, but we're going to be doing this during the commercial breaks today. So hang out with us. This is just a taste of the chaos. There's a lot more crazy that you need to see on Super Talk. All right, so anyway, Canada.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. But don't engage unless absolutely necessary.
Is that so? Don't take matters into your own hands? Bro, they're in my living room.
We urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible.
Oh, be the best witness possible as your wife is being beaten by home invaders. You're being tied up. Just call Lee, chip in, and be a great witness. You know, Superman, and then, you got Bizarro. In Florida, they're like, we're going to shoot you stone cold dead. This is Bizarro, Florida. Is that what Ontario is?
It's close enough.
Well, one European leader is making his stance on Greenland known, and the latest numbers out of one Tennessee city may shock you. Those stories and more coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Sam Rutherford in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Mason Fleming is producing the show. You're welcome to join it however you want. You want to jump in the YouTube chat, you want to call in, text in 615-737-9986. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN, and everything that we do is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Kristi Noem trying to speak a little bit of reason and make some sense to the leftists on CBS over the weekend, albeit, though, to no avail. The leftist over there, Margaret Brennan, she's not gonna listen to anything Kristi Noem. It goes in one ear and out the other. Yet, to her credit, Kristi Noem was there on CBS over the weekend, trying to speak some facts to these radical, TDS suffering leftists.
Have arrested and detained thousands of illegal criminals in Minnesota since President Trump came back into the White House. And I've never met a family that ever said, oh, I wish you would have left that rapist free. I wish you would have left that murderer on the streets. So we're just so thankful that we have a president that's upholding the law and is determined to make sure that the laws are applied equally to everyone.
Yeah, who would be happy if DHS and ICE let a rapist go or a killer go? See, this is what the leftists want you to think, that everybody that's being snatched off the streets, they're just here for a better life. And it's like, no, that's actually not the case. And Kristi Noem brought some receipts saying 70% of the illegals that have been arrested already had existing criminal charges, like a second offense, not just breaking into the country illegally. Margaret Brennan tried to argue with her on this point.
70% of them have committed or have charges against them on violent crimes and crimes that they are charged with or have been convicted of that have come from other countries that are here illegally, first of all, and then they have committed a criminal act while they've been here or in their home countries as well.
It's not 70%.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is.
70% of everyone
you
you
guys
have
keep
detained
changing your percentage. You pick and choose what numbers you think work, but that is the facts, is that 70% of the people that we have detained have charges against them or have been convicted of charges, and they need to be brought to justice. And we're going to keep doing that no matter how much you guys keep lying and don't tell the public the truth. It absolutely is that these law enforcement officers are out there every day doing the work to protect the American people, and they will keep doing that because they believe in enforcing the law, which is exactly what President Trump has charged them with.
Listen, I love it. Push back. Like, actually, our numbers say 47%. She's like, okay, you can use whatever numbers you want, but we're gonna deal in facts. You guys also told us that Renee Nicole Good was just a bit spooked after dropping her kid off at work and wasn't an agitator with Ice Watch, right? Plus, these numbers from Kristi Noem actually make a lot of sense, and they've been said before on a smaller scale. Just in Florida, Sheriff Grady Judd said that 70% of the people that they pick up that are illegal aliens have an existing criminal charge, and about the remaining 30%, they were with the illegal aliens with the criminal charges.
Well, I don't call them undocumented immigrants. I call them illegal immigrants because that's what they are. The reason they're not documented is they're not legal, okay? They're illegal immigrants. 74% of the illegal immigrants that we've detained have had criminal charges against them, okay? The other 26% were riding with them, okay? So when we stop a car, we run a warrants check on everybody in the car. When there's a call for service, we run a warrants check on the victim, the suspect, and all the witnesses, okay? We call that 26% collateral. But 3 out of 4 of them have committed another criminal charge. Now think about that for a second.
I have facts and data. They really do blow up a Democrat narrative. 931 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 9:31, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer this morning says tariffs should not be used against allies. His comments coming after President Trump threatened 10% tariffs on European countries standing against his push for the U.S. to take over Greenland.
Any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone.
And here locally, according to the Tennessee Star, Memphis officials say the federal caseload tied to the Memphis Safe Task Force is exploding as the city tracks more than 6,000 arrests since the operation launched last fall. The surge has been so large that the Department of Justice is now sending reinforcements in the form of 20 military lawyers from all branches of the armed forces to be assigned to Memphis as temporary federal prosecutors. They'll help handle more than 1,700 cases already referred for federal prosecution, with more coming in daily. The move is part of the president's Restoring Law and Order in Memphis initiative aimed at keeping cases moving as the task force ramps up arrests across the city. And again, locally, Middle Tennessee could be looking at its first major winter storm of the season. Forecasters say a developing system could bring a mix of snow, sleet, and freezing rain to the region later this week, with the exact track still uncertain. Temperatures are expected to drop sharply, raising concerns about icy roads and dangerous travel conditions. Emergency officials are urging residents to monitor forecasts closely as the storm approaches. That's the latest news. We've got your weather coming up next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News.
It's 9:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. We're talking about what happened in Minnesota over the weekend. Conservatives robbed, beaten, churches invaded. The Insurrection Act, it feels like we're just waiting for the president to pull that trigger. 1,500 troops on the ready to go to Minnesota, don't you know? And you're welcome to join the show. Anything you want to talk about, 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Let's go to our friend Al on line one. What's up, Al? How are you? Is it Al? Hello? Minnesota for Greenland? Somebody got to check on him. We got to check on him.
I'll check on him, yeah. He said his name was Al, but I'll check.
Check on. We'll do a wellness check. We'll do a wellness check on Al.
Yeah.
This always happens. It's like, oh, somebody wants to call into the show. I'm like, all right, perfect. We'll get him on. And then they.
What was his comment? Trading Minnesota for Greenland?
Yeah, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, you know what?
Would you do it?
I'd do it.
You would take that deal? So you want to trade Minnesota for Greenland. How does this work, sir? Al? Can you not hear me? Is it because am I out of the wrong thing? And because we went live during the commercials on YouTube. Al, what's up, man? How are you?
Oh, I just thought maybe we could trade Minnesota for Greenland and throw in Illinois and Wisconsin for good measure.
You just get rid of them? I feel like a trade like that might work better if it was Alberta, Canada for Minnesota. But I mean, listen, I'm here for it. What do you think about the United States taking Greenland?
Well, I guess that explains why he hadn't stopped Russia from taking the Ukraine. You know, with that kind of thought process.
Gotcha. So are you're where do you land on your politics?
Well, I'm a right Republican, and I see his point, but, you know, we got bases all over many countries and continents without taking over the country or the continent, you know?
Yeah.
He could reach his objection, you know, to make it safe, put missile bases, whatever, without taking it over.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a difference between owning something and renting it, right?
Yeah, well, actually, this is all God's earth. It don't belong to anybody but him, you know?
That's fair. Fair point. Well, I appreciate the call, Al. Thank you so much. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. There was movement on Greenland over the weekend. We'll get back to Minnesota in a second, but since we're on the topic, President Trump enacting tariffs on European countries until the island becomes ours.
On the U.S. push to acquire Greenland. This just in, President Trump posting on Truth Social that he is serious about putting tariffs on countries that do not support the United States acquisition. Now, starting February 1st, he says there will be a 10% tariff on a number of European countries. That will rise to 25% in June and will continue to ratchet up until a deal is reached. So tariffs on those who do not support the U.S. acquisition of Greenland. Tariffs have worked to great effect in a number of these high-stakes situations. Mexico comes to mind during the first term. They put troops on their northern border after Trump threatened tariffs. We will see what these European countries do. We'll keep a close eye and keep you abreast of any developments.
So right now we have Trump versus Europe. Winner takes Greenland, and I think that Trump is going to win. Pressure has been ramping up. The United States wants Greenland for military purposes. And it's I mean, you look at it and you go, well, they're not even near Russia. It's like, yeah, but you're looking at the old school Mercator map that's on a flat level. If you look at it from above where the missiles would come, Greenland is super strategic, especially with the Golden Dome that Donald Trump wants to institute here in the United States. But Breitbart has the latest story, ramping up the pressure in the diplomatic feud over the future of Greenland. Trump announced Saturday he'll impose a 10% tariff on 8 European nations for their opposition to America acquiring the territory, casting Greenland as essential to American national security and international stability. President Trump on Truth Social said that world peace is at stake, going even further to say we've subsidized Denmark and all of the countries of the European Union and others for many years by not charging them tariffs or any other form of remuneration Now, after centuries, it is time for Denmark to give back. In addition to putting diplomatic pressure on the Danes, the president announced that he will also be imposing tariffs on all goods from Denmark and their European allies, Finland, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. There was thoughts about Italy. Italy has said, no, we're with the president on this one. But he also posted on Truth Social, this is a very dangerous situation for safety, security, and the survival of our planet. These countries who are playing this very dangerous game have put a level of risk in play that is not tenable or sustainable. The tariffs will presumably come on top of the baseline 15% tariffs negotiated with the European Union and the 10% baseline negotiated with Britain earlier this year. President Trump further warned that if the issue of Greenland is not resolved by June, the 10% tariff that he announced on Saturday will then be increased to 25%. The U.S. leader noted also that although previous presidents have tried and failed for over 150 years to acquire Greenland, that failure is no longer an option for Washington, citing Greenland's geostrategic importance for new defense systems such as the Golden Dome, which we talked about just a moment ago, saying hundreds of billions of dollars are currently being spent on security programs having to do with the dome, including for the possible protection of Canada. And this very brilliant but highly complex system can only work at its maximum potential and efficiency because of angles, meets, and bounds if this land is included in it, he said. Mr. Trump also said that the United States is immediately open to negotiate with Denmark and or any of these countries that have put so much at risk despite all that we have done for them, including maximum protection over many decades. Europe responded with some threats. They were talking about holding up the EU-U.S. trade deal, boycotting the World Cup. The threats didn't last long. European officials have backed down from their retaliation against President Trump's Greenland acquisition ambitions, preferring negotiations rather than escalating, per the New York Times. The European Union lasted about 24 hours. But UN Ambassador Mike Waltz, he nailed it on Greenland over the weekend, talking about how this is a strategic spot for America and why it is that we need Greenland.
At Denmark's defense expenditures, they have zero heavy icebreakers. They really have no Navy in the Western Hemisphere to speak of, and they certainly aren't contributing in a meaningful way to the Golden Dome, space, or other types of missile defense we have to have. Meanwhile, look at Russia with over 60 icebreakers, some nuclear. The Chinese are building more. They're pushing up into the natural resources that are up there, that are increasingly exposed in the polar regions. We have to secure the United States. The Greenlanders will be better for it, and our alliance will be better for it.
I mean, that's kind of the point the president is making, right? When you hear the pushback about there's no threat today, nobody's bothering Greenland today. Well, this is not about today, right? This is about what might happen in the next coming years. That's what national security is about.
That's right. It's looking forward in the future threats that we do see rising, both from all of our adversaries, but also it's about looking back. This area, this region was completely ignored by both NATO and Denmark, who is a great ally otherwise, but just doesn't have the resources or the capacity to do what needs to be done in the northern region. And to the, to the Democrats who say, well, they're giving you full access. Look, everybody knows that if you are renting a place or a home, you treat it differently than if you own it.
Yeah.
And from a standpoint of international law, President Trump is trying to make a deal, as President Truman tried to do in the 40s, as we did with the Virgin Islands, which we purchased from Denmark for $25 million in the 20th century. So there's nothing wrong with that, and he's doing what needs to be done.
And what's being done right now is maximum pressure by the United States government. Protests erupted in Greenland and Denmark over the Trump plans to acquire Greenland. They were wearing MAGA caps, but it said "Make America Go Away." It's kind of hilarious. Not gonna lie, I don't think the protests are actually going to deter the president from any of this. There was also a basketball game over the weekend it was Germany, I believe it was, and it was I think it was the Grizzlies were playing. The Memphis Grizzlies were playing overseas in Europe. During the national anthem, one guy made his feelings on Greenland known. We won't, sir. Actually, we won't. Greenland is going to be ours. Scott Bessent exposed Denmark's treatment of Greenland in front of the world over the weekend. So he's like, you guys do understand that Denmark hasn't exactly been the best to Greenland. You know, revisionist history at its finest. What we see today. Oh, Denmark, Greenland's always been part of Denmark. And Scott Besant's like, yeah, but they've always treated them like crap. Does forced sterilization ring a bell to anyone?
Let's look back. Denmark has a terrible history with Greenlanders. There was forced sterilizations up until the 80s or the 90s. So all of a sudden, now that the U.S. has expressed an interest, there is this new interest. And again, the United States needs to be in control to prevent a war, and that we do not want to get dragged into someone else's war.
Well, but this is about the United States' relationship with its allies, NATO allies, again, reacting with alarm. They're warning that this move to annex Greenland could, in fact, destroy NATO. So let me just put this to you bluntly. Is Greenland or NATO more essential to the United States' national security?
Well,
Greenland? I think that's pretty. What has NATO done for us? What has NATO done? Greenland could be the base, the focus of operation for the Golden Dome that would protect America from missiles raining down upon it. Can NATO do that for us? Oh, they can't? Okay, then I stand by Greenland is more important.
Chris, that's obviously a false choice. That's a
not from the perspective of European leaders.
The European leaders will come around and they will understand that they need to be under the U.S. security umbrella. What would happen in Ukraine that if the U.S. pulled its support out? The whole thing would collapse. That the U.S., Kristen, to be clear, since 1980, the U.S. has spent U.S. military spending versus NATO military spending, we have spent $22 trillion more dollars than the Europeans have. That we are peace through strength. And the Europeans now are only trying to play catch up. And that is only through President Trump. President Trump believes in NATO, but he does not believe in the American people being dragged in.
Again, I would just say, all right, if we've outspent them by $22 trillion, then the point stands. Yes, Greenland is more important to our national security than NATO. 615-737-9986. Glenn in Franklin, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, Glenn?
Hi. Yes, well, my background, I'm a Christian, conservative, constitutionalist, veteran American. So it's the way I like to be to say it.
Yes, sir.
So
well, thank you for your service.
Well, it's a pleasure and an honor. Third generation. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Like that was an honor. Anyway, in Greenland, I think it's a little bit of an extortion to use tariffs. You know, go and negotiate in good faith or whatever. Yes, we do need Greenland. Yes, that would not be a good situation for any of our foreign countries that are enemies towards us. That's just too close for missile base, even submarines from that area. Like I said, icebreakers. Almost reminds me, and I'm 73 years old, of the Cuban missile crisis that we had way back in the 60s. So yes, we do need to have some type of negotiations in Greenland, but to go about it the way he's doing, and I support Trump. I don't think he's 100%. You know, he's not Jesus.
Right.
But he is probably the best president we've had in a long, did I say long time? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but with your military background, I mean, I think you understand why it's so necessary. With the tariffs, though, you say extortion. I think that I would use the word leverage.
Well, yeah, okay. You can call it heavy leverage. Okay, I'll agree with that.
but I mean, I think we both understand that if he wanted it and they went in and took it militarily, that would be done today. You know, that wouldn't take any time. No. It wouldn't take. It probably wouldn't be any loss of life, and it would be ours. So trying to keep the Europeans in the fold during this process, I don't know. I wouldn't call that extortion by any stretch.
Okay. So, but yes, we do need that. Hopefully they come with a good positive resolution to that, to where we can have a military base there or a little better than what we have for the protection of this country. We don't need our enemies to be that close to us from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So moving on. So, in regards to Minnesota, he needs to go the insurrection laws and just,
Amen.
Enough is enough. Us regular citizens, American citizens, law-abiding, have had enough. We have had enough, and they need to be arrested. The mayor, the governor.
Yep.
That's treason. As far as myself and my books, that's treason. They're committing felonies in my book, and they need to be arrested. And any other official that goes against the ICE or military, National Guard or whatever, people in there trying to clean up what Biden's mess did, and then even the citizens, I believe, that live there, I think they're tired and they're fed up.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they're not there supporting the ICE and come up there and making blockades or whatever to these disruptive people and saying no. They're in here to help us clean up Biden's mess that you're supporting, and you probably want to hear, and probably some of them that they're there, protesting out there, as we saw that one broke into an FBI's car, took paperwork, took, weapons. I'm sorry. If I was that FBI agent, that person, as soon as he touched that gun, as soon as he broke in there, they'd be calling the coroner.
Yeah, I hear you, but let's be fair, Glenn. The young man that stole that firearm, he's a future doctor and a young scholar, and he's working to get those college credits, and he's working part-time as a Latin Kings gang member. So he's on his way up.
You're joking. I know you're joking.
I appreciate.
I'll laugh at that. I will laugh at that because that's who we really need. We need these people like that are supportive and whatever, named doctors and lawyers. And
yes.
Wait a minute, we have those. We already have those lawyers called Omar.
Yep.
We already have that supports Somalia more than she does the United States. I heard her say that.
Yep.
And I figure, what? Why? Yeah, that's it. You're off. That's it. You're voted out. Whatever they got to do, you're out of Congress. That's it, lady. You're here and took a note.
Yeah, she married her brother, Glenn. She married her brother. I mean, how much more do we need to go down the Ilhan Omar route? It's an absolute mess. Hey, appreciate the call. Thank you again for your service. You're welcome to call in anytime. 9:55 on Super Talk. On the way, we're going to talk with our friend from Tennessee Health Freedom. The Tennessee director, Bernadette Pager, is going to be joining the show to give you a little bit of insight on some legislation that is being moved through Tennessee right now. Looking forward to the conversation. Hang out with us. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I got to hang out with these guys on Friday. They were the best. We were at the Murfreesboro, Tennessee Miller Coliseum for the Murfreesboro Home Expo. The guys did a great job. A lot of people really interested in Busy Bee. Why wouldn't they be interested in Busy Bee? If you got some HVAC problems, you're feeling it this morning, and Busy Bee is going to get you 0% financing for 18 months, plus a complimentary UV light treatment with any new system install, and a free 5-year labor upgrade. That's a $750 value. Maybe you're good on the heat, but the plumbing needs some work. Same 0% financing, plus a free 50-gallon water heater with select repipes exclusively from Busy Bee. And if that doesn't apply, you'll get $600 off. And did I mention all month long, buy one Beehive Club membership, get one for free. You're not going to find a better value in HVAC. It's always Busy Bee. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. Or find them online, busybeehvac.com.
All right, breaking news out there for some of you drivers out on the interstate this morning. There is a crash on I-24 eastbound between Bell Road, exit 59, and Hickory Hollow Parkway, exit 60, that has shut the interstate down. Again, that is I-24 eastbound between Bell Road and Hickory Hollow Parkway. The FBI is calling on agents to volunteer to travel to Minneapolis, though the assignment, at least for now, is unclear as protests continue through the weekend. Also facing scrutiny, the city and state's top Democratic leaders. ABC's Matt Rivers is in Minneapolis with more.
Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz under investigation, sources say, for allegedly obstructing law enforcement activities in the state. Frey telling ABC News that he and Walz have done nothing wrong, but suspects they are being targeted for speaking out against the administration.
There are other countries where you get investigated for saying something that runs counter to what the federal government states. But in this country, it's not that.
Anger is growing between state and local officials and the federal government.
And in more national news, while Los Angeles, New York, and Chicago are often labeled as hotbeds for crime, one community that rarely enters the conversation is Oklahoma City. But ABC's Jim Ryan tells us about an unusually violent weekend in the nation's heartland.
Oklahoma City police are investigating a series of violent incidents that left 7 people dead in a 24-hour period that started Saturday night. In at least 2 of the incidents, the victim knew the suspect, including the case of a man who called police last night to say that he had stabbed his brother to death. The mayor last week was touting a dramatic 5% decline in Oklahoma City homicides in 2025.
And here locally, we brought you this story back in October, but Fox 17 has a newly released FAA report shedding light on the skydiving accident that killed Nashville instructor Justin Fuller last October. Investigators say Fuller and a student became stuck on a step outside the aircraft during their tandem jump, and Fuller signaled for the student to, quote, cut him loose so the student could survive. The student's reserve parachute deployed and landed safely. But Fuller fell without a parachute and was later found dead in a wooded area off of Highway 12 in the Ashland City area. The report confirms the plane was properly maintained and describes the emergency as fast-moving, complex entanglement during the exit from the aircraft. Fuller's quick thinking and actions should be remembered as bold and heroic. That's the latest news. We've got your weather coming up next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News.
All right, so anyway, Canada.
In the unlikely event that you find yourself the victim of a home invasion, we are urging citizens not to take matters into their own hands. But don't engage unless absolutely necessary.
Is that so? Don't take matters into your own hands? Bro, they're in my living room.
We urge you to call 911 and do everything you can to keep yourself and loved ones safe until police arrive, and be the best witness possible.
Oh, be the best witness possible as your wife is being beaten by home invaders. You're being tied up. Just golly, chip in and be a great witness. You know, Superman, and then, you know, you got Bizarro. In Florida, they're like, we're going to shoot you stone cold dead. This is Bizarro, Florida. Is that what Ontario is?
It's close enough.
It's 10:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch us. Super Talk TV's on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Really excited about our next guest. We've had her in here before. She's the Tennessee director of Stand for Health Freedom. Her name is Bernadette Pajer, advocate for medical freedom and scientific integrity and public policy, but actual science, not that science. Bernadette Pajer joins the show. What's up, Bernadette? How are you?
Hey, I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. We have got a red alert situation here when it comes to pesticides and the pesticide industry attempting to get the state of Tennessee to give them a liability shield. This is House Bill 809, and it's up on Wednesday, January 21st at noon for a final committee vote before going to the House floor.
Okay, so explain to me what the bill is. This is similar to what we saw try to get pushed through last year, correct?
Yes, this is the exact bill from last year. So in the Senate, it went through all the committees, and despite the fact that we blew them out of the water really with the expert testimony about how dangerous this bill was and how it was a shield for the industry, the Senate passed it anyway, all the way through the Senate floor. Then in the House, it went through the Agricultural Committee and passed. But when it got to Judiciary, we again had the most amazing testimony from attorneys and scientists and mama bears, regenerative farmers. I mean, we exposed the lies enough that they knew they didn't have the votes. And what they did was roll it to this year, to 2026. But all this time, though, the lobbyists have been hard at it, convincing everybody on that Judiciary Committee that it needs to pass. And they've got an amendment coming, supposedly, which we have not seen the language to. And today's a holiday, so we won't be seeing it until tomorrow morning, giving us less than 24 hours notice to figure out what this amendment is. There's no amendment that can fix the bill, though, Chris.
So if I haven't heard about this before, can you explain to me on the ground level what the bill does?
Yes. What the bill says is that any registered pesticide that bears an EPA-approved label is not liable in a civil action, including failure to warn. So that means as long as the EPA approved their label, you cannot sue them if you are injured. And these products do not bear the warnings that they need to. Most of them have zero chronic toxicity warnings at all, even though the science clearly shows there is a risk for chronic toxicity.
So you say you can't, if this bill goes through, you can't sue these companies for damages.
Exactly.
How could you be injured by one of these products?
Well, if you're there's immediate toxicity, which is called acute. That usually is on the label if you get it in your skin or your eyes or you breathe it in. They do tell you caution there. They give you warning. That warning gives them a legal protection. They've warned you to be careful with this. What they don't warn you about is the chronic injury. And this can take years to decades to emerge, and this is what's emerging from all the pesticides. So when you use the product regularly, you're a farmer, a landscaper, a homeowner with really big yard, and you like to use all the chemicals. You work for a school district. You're exposed to these on a daily or weekly basis. You can get cancer. You can get autoimmune disorders, kidney issues, neurological disorders. Every pesticide has like its own unique set of chronic injuries that they can cause if you're exposed to it. But the EPA fails to even ask any pesticide company for full product formulation chronic toxicity studies. So what I'm saying is, like the big Roundup cases, and it's Bayer who brought these bills. It's the German pharmaceutical and chemical company Bayer that's pushing these bills in all the states and at the federal level. They have never done a cancer study on Roundup, only the active ingredient. And they've completely, they've done a horrible job on which is glyphosate.
Yep.
They've ghost-written studies, they've bought off scientists, they've done everything they can to avoid finding out that glyphosate causes cancer.
So how, if this was killed in the judiciary last year,
Mm-hmm.
how is this coming back up again in Tennessee?
Well, it wasn't killed. It was paused. So Tennessee works on a 2-year system. So you've got 2 years to get a bill through. If you don't get it through the first session of a biennium, which was 2025, you can push a bill to the next session. And that's what they've done. So now here it is right where we left off last year. They just rolled it to 2026. And it's passed all the way in the Senate. This is its last House committee. And then it goes to the floor if it passes here. But the big lie here, Chris, this is the massive lie, and the legislators are buying it, is that it's not the manufacturer's fault that they don't warn about cancer, that the EPA will not let them put it on a label. That's an absolute lie. The EPA will put a warning on a label if the manufacturer asks for it. Bayer Monsanto has never asked for a cancer warning on Roundup. Never in the history. In fact, the opposite is true. When California did their Prop 65, they deemed glyphosate to be a carcinogen because there is a mountain of studies. There's hundreds of studies, independent, not industry funded, but independent studies that show that glyphosate is carcinogenic. And so the state of California sent the EPA a label and said, this has to go on all glyphosate containing products. That first request, the EPA said, nah, we don't think it's carcinogenic. So California redrafted the label warning and acknowledged EPA disagrees, but this international agency says that it's likely carcinogenic. It drafted a risk warning acknowledging EPA disagreed. EPA, we have the letter, approved the warning. They said if the registrants, meaning Bayer and everybody who's got glyphosate products, if they request it, we will allow this to be on their product and it won't be considered misbranding. Misbranding means you've got something false on your label. And so what did Bayer do? Did they say, yippee, yay, we're going to stop being sued. We're going to please put this risk warning on there? No. They sued the state of California to keep it off the label. EPA will only put it on there if the registrant asks for it. And so a federal district court said, well, it's compelled speech. California can't make the manufacturer do it. So you see where we are here. The EPA is completely helping by following industry science. And the lobbyists are telling, the Senator Stevens, in his very last plea to the Senate judiciary, said it's not their fault. They can't defend themselves. And I'm sitting there fuming because I just had told the committee that, they sued to keep the warning off the label. So, what's the disconnect here? What are they not listening to? And the other thing Senator Stevens did not know is he mocked the information circulating. He said, I'm getting letters saying this is about insecticides. This isn't about insecticides, it's about pesticides, something to that effect. Well, he doesn't know that at the federal and state level, the definition of pesticide is insecticide, herbicide, fungicide, rodenticide, bactericide. In Tennessee, it's more than 16,000 products used in agriculture, gardens, schools, playgrounds, golf courses, you name it. And his bill covers this bill covers every single one of those products and every foreign manufacturer and domestic manufacturer.
Important to note, though, this is not going to ban these products outright. This is going to get a warning label put on the products.
Well, no. What this legislation is attempting to do is say that as long as a product bears an EPA label, you cannot sue for failure to warn. Okay? So if this bill fails, you can still get the products. The companies just have to be honest. And if they simply ask the EPA for a warning label, they will be granted a warning label. The manufacturer writes their own labels. So that's another of the lobbyist lies, is they have to use the label supplied by the EPA. See how they twist the words? The manufacturer does all their own safety testing, and believe me, they know how to design tests to not find what they don't want to find. They draft their own labels and submit them to the EPA for approval. And the EPA is so bad that in 2022, when they had their most recent human health assessment of glyphosate, the troublesome pesticide here for Bayer Monsanto, they only used industry science. And again, a court vacated EPA's finding that it wasn't carcinogenic. They said, you have serious errors in your evaluation. You only used industry science. You failed to look at the full body of independent science, including the science that shows people being exposed to glyphosate in full product formulations. So right now, that's where we stand. That assessment was vacated. And here these legislators are considering giving a shield to a company that was found guilty of fraud, of misbranding their product, of concealing the risks that all came out in thousands of internal documents when they were sued. It's so frustrating that all of this information is being ignored.
So the fight today is to get this just ended, the liability protection.
Yes, we need to stop HB 809. It must not pass Senate or House Judiciary on Wednesday.
Who do we need to talk to?
We need to talk to the committee members, the House Judiciary members. You can find those. There's like 25 of them, quite a few. But you can go to the Tennessee Legislative website and find those. Or really the best way to do that is go to standforhealthfreedom.com. On that homepage, you're going to see a red banner. It's an alert for this bill. Click on that red banner, and it will bring you to information about the bill, a list of all the phone numbers of the House Judiciary Committee members, and also a way for you to quickly send your own written message. It's not a form letter. It just helps you send your own written message to the legislators.
With the Trump administration taking over, have you noticed any changes in the EPA? Have you noticed that MAHA influence creeping in, or do you feel like it's the same EPA?
Well, at first we saw nothing. We saw some action regarding DOJ, cleaning up some waste here. We saw some action regarding kind of the whole ridiculous climate change stuff that was impacting. But as far as cleaning up the conflicts of interest and the capture of the EPA by industry, we saw nothing until last week. And last week, Administrator Lee Zeldin publicly on X said that they're going to re-examine paraquat. And paraquat is banned in many nations, but the EPA allows it in the United States. Paraquat causes Parkinson's disease, which you will not find on the warning. I mean, if HB 809 passes and you get Parkinson's from paraquat, you won't be able to sue them. Even though it's so well established, the science is just, and they've been sued as well. Syngenta, which is owned by China, and it's a military arm of China that owns the chemical company. So China makes paraquat and sells it in the United States, but they won't sell it in their own country because it's so toxic.
Weird.
Right? I mean, and we've pointed this out to legislators as well. This bill protects ChemChina and their products, and without the court system, our government, our system of this republic and our capitalist system relies upon the courts to keep these powerful industries honest. If you lose your access to the courts to get to the discovery process where you find those internal documents that shows they knew their product could harm and they concealed it, if we don't have that anymore with these pesticides, just forget about it. They're going to be able to bring anything on the market.
If I recall correctly, last year, though, they said if we don't get this passed, we're not going to sell our products in Tennessee, correct?
Yeah, that's a completely empty threat. It's an absolutely empty threat. You go look at their annual statements and their future projections. They've got glyphosate all over the place. They're going to continue to sell. And we're just saying properly warn it. Glyphosate needs to be a free market. If we need the actual science, we need the actual warnings, and then if consumers and farmers no longer want to use it because it's dangerous, so be it. That's the great nation we live in. Now they're tipping the balance toward industry by saying you won't be able to sue. This product is very dangerous. Do I believe it should come off the market? Absolutely. But I think we have to transition. Obviously, it can't be plucked out overnight. Nobody's asking for it to be plucked out overnight. We're looking for true warnings on the label so people can make informed decisions about if they're going to be using this product. And then this is something they're doing at the federal level. They've announced a $770 million fund to help conventional farmers transition away from pesticides and toward regenerative agriculture. So there is some movement in that way.
If this is passed or killed on Wednesday, right? What's the immediate impact to local Tennessee farmers?
If it's killed, absolutely nothing happens. They still have access to all of the chemicals that they want, and they retain their ability to sue if a product the chemical company sold them hurts them and the label did not warn. If it passes and it goes all the way to the floor and passes, then Tennessee farmers lose their ability to hold the manufacturers accountable if they or their workers or their families are harmed or their crops damaged. Here's one other point, if we've got time to make it. I think it was in the 1970s or 80s, EPA went to Congress and said, we don't have time to evaluate both safety, which they don't do well anyway, and effectiveness. So we don't want to ask for all the data on effectiveness anymore. And Congress said, okay, you don't have to look at that anymore. So if you see on a product label that a product is 60%, 90%, 100% effective about controlling a specific weed or killing a bug, know that that is an honor system. And the EPA has not evaluated any of the evidence to show that is true. And if this law goes through and you lose your crop because of insects or weeds, and and their product claimed, well, you won't be able to sue them because you won't be able to. If it's an EPA approved label, and there you go. And they haven't even checked.
That's insane.
I know.
What's the call to action for the audience? What can we do to help you get this done?
Absolutely. Please go to standforhealthfreedom.com. Look for that red label, the action warning. That's going to give you access to all the information you need to get a hold of the House Judiciary and call your own representative. If it gets to the floor, tell them absolutely no. Get loud. If you can get here on Wednesday by noon in Cordell Hall on the first floor, the committee meeting will be there. We need more people there than lobbyists. Last year, there were a lot of people there, but there were more suits, more attorneys, more corporate lobbyists. We need the people there. This is the people's house. We need the people there saying, no, stand up for citizens, not the industry.
Bernadette Pager, she is the Tennessee Director for Stand for Health Freedom. That website, one more time, where we can get information.
Standforhealthfreedom.com.
Standforhealthfreedom.com. Bernadette, thank you for the time, and thank you for fighting for Tennesseans. We really do appreciate it. It is 10:24. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, this is Pastor Al, and join us on Super Talk 99.7, Sunday evenings from 7 to 8. We're going to look at the news from a biblical perspective.
Well, the winter weather is ramping up around the country and could impact us later in the week, and federal agents are looking for help in the shooting of a Nashville college student. Those stories and more coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Sam Rutherford in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. Mason Fleming producing. Mason did news this morning. We're still getting a lot of nice texts about your job on the news this morning.
Oh, yeah?
It makes Mason very uncomfortable when you guys say nice things about him. I hope everybody understands that.
Just a little bit. I don't know what it is. It's just...
And he's not doing it just to say that it makes him. He's physically squirmed in front of me.
He is. It has made him visibly uncomfortable. So
I appreciate them wholeheartedly. Let me make that known. I do appreciate the compliments. It's just I don't know how to respond to compliments.
He's much more comfortable with people saying mean things.
Yeah, because I could react to that.
Yeah.
Or if I know you're joking, I can banter back and forth with that. Compliments, stop it. No.
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche confirming criminal charges are being looked at for Mayor Jacob Frey and Tim Walz. This happened over the weekend on Fox News Sunday.
You saw the governor and the mayor actively encouraging criminals to go out on the street and impede ICE. That is not allowed under our law. When a federal officer is out doing their job, they have to be allowed to do their jobs. And the fact that we had to stand up and tell a mayor, that we had to stand up and tell a governor to stop encouraging the folks that are out there running around trying to stop ICE, to stop encouraging them, when what they really should be doing is helping their fellow federal officers, is something that's horrible. But listen, no matter who you are, whether you're a governor, a mayor, or somebody out there on the streets assaulting ICE, you cannot, under federal law, you cannot impede a federal officer doing their job. And that's what we're looking at. And I'm not going to talk about the investigation, but American people can see what the mayor has been saying. They can see what the governor's been saying, and it's obvious that has to stop.
Obviously, it has to stop. And if you watched what happened over the weekend in Minneapolis, it got even more insane. I've mentioned it a couple times. We're going to dive into it. A church was invaded for a protest. Conservatives were beaten and robbed in the streets. The police were nowhere to be found. We'll talk about it on the way. 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 10:30, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. Snow impacts people traveling home this holiday weekend. ABC News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z has more.
4 to 8 inches of snow in the Northeast, making a mess on the roads.
I think you just have to be more mindful. There is black ice that you have to worry about.
In 2 rounds, New Jersey picking up more than 4 inches of snow. Parts of Georgia, Alabama, and the Florida Panhandle seeing rare snowfall.
And we could see some low snowfall later on in the week here in Middle Tennessee. And speaking of Tennessee news, federal agents are now offering a $10,000 reward for information in the deadly interstate shooting of a Fisk University basketball player here in Nashville. Investigators say 20-year-old Andre Dre Bell was driving his white Nissan Sentra on I-65 near the I-40 split on January 11th when another car pulled alongside and someone opened fire. Bell managed to keep the vehicle on the road, but he was critically wounded and later passed away at Vanderbilt Medical Center. Detectives believe the suspect vehicle was a dark-colored sedan, but they're still working to identify who was inside and what led up to the shooting. The ATF has joined Metro Police in the investigation, calling the attack brazen and extremely dangerous given the busy stretch of interstate where it happened. Authorities are urging anyone who may have seen the shooting, the suspect car, or has information that could help move the case forward to contact police immediately. And also locally, the Titans have their finalists for their head coaching vacancy. Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, and 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh. But that could all change with the breaking news this morning that the Buffalo Bills have fired head coach Sean McDermott after 9 seasons at the helm for their club. The Bills lost in overtime to the Denver Broncos over the weekend with a controversial interception call essentially sealing the Bills' fate. But as we approach the start of the new league year, the clock is ticking and the pressure is on, not to just hire a new head coach, but the right one. After Mike Vrabel makes his second AFC Championship appearance, this time with New England, I say begrudgingly, that is the news. Weather is next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. I'm thinking about scheduling a bit of a preemptive strike with my friends at Zero Res because if you're looking at the weather forecast, we got some snow coming in over the weekend, which means my kids are going to be going sledding at the classic MTSU Hill. But it also means when they get back from sledding, I'm going to tell them to take their boots off outside, and they're inevitably going to bring them in, and they're going to track in all the snow, dirt, and mud with it, and it's going to land right there on the carpet. I would stress out. I would. But I know I got Zero Res on speed dial. These guys are the best. They use their exclusive ZR water, no soap, no harsh chemicals, no residue, just insanely clean-looking carpets that stay clean longer. And then with the lack of chemicals and the lack of residue, the kids can roll around on the carpet, and I don't have to worry about what's in the fibers. You should think about a preemptive strike with Zero Res as well. After the snow comes in, give them a call today. You can get some great deals. 2 rooms of carpet plus a hallway or stairs for $129. 3 rooms of carpet plus a hallway or stairs for $149. The number is 615-535-9376. That's 615-535-9376. Or you can book online, ZeroResNashville.com.
There used to be some common truths in America. Republicans and Democrats used to be, we could all agree that we had to have some semblance of border protection. Now, Republicans and conservatives still want border protection, but the Democrats, the progressives, they want a wide open border. It used to be that Republicans and Democrats could, at the very least, agree that crime was bad and committing crimes was bad, and that the perpetrators of such crimes should at the very least be charged and perhaps go to jail after their day in court. Now you have the Democrats that don't even believe that criminals who are committing crimes should even face charges. Just the basic, what is a man and what is a woman? The basic truth of, look down, what are you? The Democrats don't even have that right.
It's 10:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Full disclosure, I usually only worry about the weather that's happening today or the next day. But I'm hearing the weather reports. They're saying 15 to 18 inches of snow on Saturday.
Yeah,
Did I read that right?
That's vulgarity.
15 to 18 inches of snow?
Hopefully not here.
Don't worry. Nashville will be reopened by mid-February, I can assure you. I feel no matter what happens, we will rebuild. I'm excited.
Brother Chris.
Downright giddy.
Oh.
You know where I'm going to be?
In your studio at home.
That MTSU Sleddon Hill.
Oh, well, yeah, that. Yeah.
I might have to bring the Comrex out to the Sleddon Hill.
Just do updates.
And do it live.
I'll be in my breakfast nook.
From the Sleddon Hill. Are we all going to be doing the shows from home on Monday? Is that the plan?
That's what I'm going to be doing.
I'm not getting out and driving in that, man.
Dude, if it snows that bad on Monday, my car hardly works in regular weather. There's no way I'm making it into the station. I'd have to stay overnight starting Thursday night.
I'm excited, boys. I'm pretty pumped.
I bet you those youngins are.
I don't even think they know yet.
Oh, probably not. Chris just found out and he looked at me and goes, "Are you serious?"
I swear. The most I'll pay attention to weather for is like a day or two. Like, if it's not going to immediately impact me, I can learn about this later. 15 to 18 inches.
Son of a biscuit eater.
That's going to be chaos. Everybody understands that, right? It's going to be chaos. I'm here for it.
See here. I got to check this.
Don't worry, though. Ice operations will continue in and around Nashville during the snow.
No pun intended.
They've been practicing in Minnesota, so they're ready. I'm here for it, and I hope you are as well. And, my wife just texted me, for us. For us.
Only a 30% chance right now, boys.
30% chance?
Only a 30% chance right now.
I don't know who to trust then, because Apple's weather is telling me it's an 80% chance.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I got to look at my Apple then.
Moderate to heavy on Saturday the 24th. 15 to 18 inches is what they're predicting. My wife said, "Is that for us or Boston or Detroit?"
Yeah, dude, mine's showing 80% too.
Let's go.
What's going on?
Confirmed by Ken Weaver.
Look at that. It's going to be 10 degrees overnight Saturday.
Dude, it's going to be awesome. I'm so excited about this, Ken.
Monday morning, brother Chris, 6 degrees.
Dude, you should come sledding with us.
Dude, I'll break a hip or something, man.
I feel the same way. I do that now. I feel like I've gotten to the age where
Just
it's
watch
like
the kids.
it doesn't even matter what I'm doing. Like the other day, we were just on the swing set outside, and it's like it's the Chinese plywood swing set, so I don't go too hard.
Right.
But I thought to myself, I could jump off this swing and land it, and then immediately I had all these horrific thoughts of like torn ACLs, and I was like, better just drag my feet until I slow down.
See, you're still the kid inside, though.
Yes.
That never leaves us.
No,
it never leaves us.
Just everything else does.
Yeah, it's just the physical part.
All right, so come Saturday, we may look like Minnesota, don't you know? And we're excited about it. Speaking of Minnesota, where we got a weekend of protesters absolutely wiling out. It was chaotic, to say the least. Mayor Jacob Fry, though, doing his best to give Donald Trump the ammo he needs to invoke the Insurrection Act by once again doubling down and calling ICE officials an occupying force in Minnesota.
Well, you said occupying force. Don't you think it's a bit much?
I mean, look, you can go through whatever rhetorical flourish you want, but when you have 3,000 ICE agents and border control come to the city, when you've got this supposed threat of 1,500 military coming to the city, yeah, that's very much what it feels like. When you outnumber local police officers 5 and 6 to 1, that is the vibe. And so the bottom line is, if the goal were safety, this is not how you get there. If the goal is safety, I can give you a very antidote to some of the violence that we're seeing, and it's have them leave.
How about they just double down and go even harder? The Minnesota police over the weekend were nowhere to be found as chaos was just erupting everywhere you looked. And I've mentioned it a few times, but it's like Nick Sorter had his $1,000 camera stolen by a Somali. I saw a video of one guy he had the audacity to wear a USA jacket, and that was ripped from him as he was chased out of Minneapolis by a mob. You had Jake Lang, J6er, conservative activist, went down there for a pro-ICE, anti-Islam rally. He was dragged into a mob by these leftists, beaten, bloodied, assaulted, and forced out of town. When do we get the law and order that we've been clamoring for? I think it's about time. I think it's past time. And then you see Mayor Jacob Fry hitting the news and saying it's an occupying force. If they want safety, they could leave. They could leave. It's like no, we won't leave. In fact, we have to keep going. Just over the weekend, there was a leftist who was screaming to the ICE agents, "You need to leave." They were out there with their whistles. They were impeding. They were obstructing, and they were letting the individual who was being targeted by ICE know that ICE was in the area through their loud displays of just ridiculousness. That ICE agent rolled down his window to speak to one of the agitators, most likely paid, this leftist agitator, this anarchist, and he had a message for the leftist that I think should resonate with everybody. He's like, why are you protesting us? You don't even know who we're after.
Reporting, we're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
Oh, we're not. No, we're pressing. We're not.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
And he drives off. It is insane. You're going to get a child sex offender, and these rabid blue-haired leftists are blowing whistles and honking horns and trying to slow them down because they're neighbors, right? That's their neighbor. Insanity. Insurrection Act when? Not just that. It's not like they're defending these child sex offenders, these illegal aliens, the murderers, the convicted criminals. But then they're like, oh, why are there so many police? Why are there so many ICE agents? They outnumber us so many to so many. And it's like, yeah, because you guys are making it less safe. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons made that case over the weekend. He goes, never in my career did I think I would have to send police to protect police. Yet here we are.
You know, you hear about the 3,000 federal officers and special agents that deployed to Minneapolis. Majority of those, if not most, are to protect the men and women that are out there trying to make those arrests. And that has definitely changed our tactics. Where we would go and have 5 to 6 officers on an arrest team, now you have to go with 10 to 15 just to protect those individuals that are trying to arrest a bad guy. In my 30 years of law enforcement, I never thought we would have to send law enforcement to protect law enforcement.
Yet here we are. And as you heard from that ICE agent just a moment ago, do you understand who you're defending? We're here to get a child sex offender. And you're calling him your neighbor, and you have to protect him. It's vile. It's disgusting. It's not all Minnesotans, though. I think that's important to point out. There are many leftists, there are many agitators, many of whom are paid, but there is still some sanity in Minnesota. This woman attended a protest and spoke to News Nation.
I think everything would be done by now if they just leave everybody alone. Let ICE do their job. If they're illegally detained and they're a resident, they're here supposed to be here, prove it. Then you get released. Like, I know it's an inconvenience. I would be pissed off too, but let them just do their job.
Let them do their job. Just let them do their job. We don't need the circus to come to town. Yet the circus is what we got. These ridiculous individuals chasing down ICE agents and impeding and obstructing. Put them all in jail. And then it got even worse. I mean, this is bad enough, and everybody understands it. But the protesters were absolutely wilding. We have video. If you're watching us on the YouTube stream, there's a video of leftists attacking federal agents outside the Minneapolis federal building. Just full on assaulting them. I have leftists stalking random white guys in Minneapolis. There's videos of a couple of tech bros. They were sitting down. I think it was like a Chipotle. They're having a little burrito bowl, and then the leftists start banging on the window, saying, hey, "Do you work for ICE?" And it's like, why? Because I'm dressed nice and I'm white. Like, what are you doing? There was another video. They're just chasing a guy down the block. You can't be here. You're an ICE agent. He's like, I'm not an ICE agent. I'm just living in this city and happen to be white. Another video, if you're watching on Super Talk TV, this guy, not a white guy, he had the audacity to wear a USA jacket, and the protesters followed him for blocks, ripping at his jacket, demanding that he take it off or he would be beaten. And after everything that we saw over the weekend in Minneapolis, he believed them, and he took the jacket off. And then they stole it from him. And then they probably burned it because it looked like an American flag, and that's what these ridiculous wackos tend to do. I got videos of ICE supporters bleeding from the head because they had the audacity to support ICE. Video after video of this coming out of Minnesota over the weekend. I mean, it's insane. This guy is just trying to support ICE, and he ends up bleeding profusely from his head. When are we going to do the Insurrection Act? When? We saw over the weekend leftists not stop on the streets, not stop at the protests, not stop at the federal buildings or the courthouses or the ICE facilities. They then decided to invade a Minnesota church. I feel like they've officially crossed the line. And these individuals should be charged under the FACE Act, which I don't know if you recall, but if you sang and prayed in an abortion clinic, you were woken up at 2 a.m. by Biden's DOJ. And I think that these individuals should get the same kind of treatment. We're going to talk about what happened at that church because it was egregious. Don Lemon, it just in the weeds with the protesters at this church. It's infuriating. And we'll talk about it on the way. 10:51. It's Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Aaron Parker over at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. We all know that gold and silver prices are climbing. A lot of folks are stacking these precious metals at home, but I have a big question for you. Where are you putting them? I mean, under the bed, it might be a good spot, but it's not going to be what you can get at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. They carry real safes, including UL-rated TL and TR safes, tested and certified to resist tool and torch attacks. That's the kind of protection you want for firearms, cash, jewelry, precious metals, not a thin box from a big store. Aaron Parker runs the whole business the old-fashioned way. It's veteran-owned. It's a Christian family business. They've been doing this since 2009. They answer their phones. They show up on time, and they only sell products that they would trust in their own homes. You can get a review on every safe that they have in stock over on their YouTube page. Just search for Parker Safes and Vaults on YouTube, and they'll deliver and service Nashville and the surrounding areas. Shelbyville isn't another country, okay, just so you know. If you're in Middle Tennessee, this is basically in your backyard, and they'll bring the safe right to you. 931-842-6445, 931-842-6445, parkersafes.com.
All right, drivers, we have a crash on 24 eastbound in Antioch. Only the left lane is open there at Hickory Hollow Parkway, so get over to the left. That is a 61-minute delay. Had a woman attacked while out for a walk in Nashville. We'll tell you about that coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. I'm Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Mason Fleming's producing. I've created something on the text line because I had the audacity to reference Apple weather. Many individuals are pointing out that the Android weather, far more accurate.
Allegedly. One
individual even went as far to say never listen to weather from Crapple. That's what he said.
Interesting.
Some other people are pointing out it's only going to be 5 to 8 inches. To which I would say, is any difference made in the area if it's 5 to 8 inches or 15 to 18 inches?
I don't think so.
I think it's just going to be just as chaotic.
I think everybody's still going to be trapped at home.
The sledding is going to be just as fun.
Yeah. The milk and toilet paper will be just as gone.
Milk sandwiches.
Words. Ice sandwiches. There's plenty of it.
Other people are saying, you got to check out the Fox 17 app. Okay, can I tell you something?
Yeah.
So I did Nashville in Focus the other day.
Yeah.
And one of the Fox 17 people came in, and they were talking about the weather. And she impromptu sales pitched us on the Fox 17 weather app.
Interesting.
She's like, oh, you got to get the Fox 17.
It's the best.
I was like,
check it out.
I was like, what's the difference between that and the regular app that's on your phone?
Yeah.
It's the same thing, right?
It's like maybe there's a slight delay on the updates, but for the most part, it's the same thing.
Well, it's code red, boys.
True.
It's code red.
That's true.
Got me there, Ken.
Code red. My wife, when we first moved to Tennessee, my wife got so mad at me for making fun of the code red when it snowed the first time. She's like, you just think Southerners don't know how to drive in the snow. And I said no. I said, I know Southerners don't know how to drive in the snow.
You are correct.
And then that was like a week later. She's like, okay, the code red stuff is a little bit over the top. I'm not going to lie.
Code red.
WSMV's got a new weather girl back. You see that?
Oh, yeah.
Bree.
Bree, yeah.
Bree's back.
Let's go.
I like Bree.
You know Stefano DiPietro's looking over his shoulder now.
He's shaking in his boots.
So what's going on here?
What's the deal? All right, so one way or another, we will have Snowmageddon before it's all said and done this weekend. Snow MG.
Goodness.
Dan mentioned that this morning, and we gave him crap for it.
What's for saying Snowmageddon?
Snowmageddon, yeah. I wouldn't do that to you.
No, you
just
wouldn't.
saying that.
Of course not. Of course not. Of course not.
That's a Dan thing.
Yeah.
So Don Lemon got a group of wackos together, and they decided to invade a church because they believed the pastor was ICE affiliated. They wanted to make people feel uncomfortable. At one point, there's there's all these people walking out of the church, and a little boy is hugging his dad. And Don Lemon just said, yeah, that little boy looks, this is traumatic stuff, but that's good. This is how protests are supposed to feel. Really? You want to just traumatize kids at a church? Huh. You know who actually spoke against, invading places of worship? Tim Walz. Of course, he was speaking about ICE agents. I don't think he meant leftist protesters. I'm going to bring you all this audio on the way. What happened at the church in Minnesota over the weekend, I wish they would try that at a church in a small town. We're going to talk about it. It's 11 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Folks, we've got an 80-minute delay if you are eastbound on 24 in Antioch. You've got 3 lanes closed due to a crash there at Hickory Hollow Parkway. Only the left lane is open, so get over to the left as soon as you can. That's an 80-minute delay. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, in Nashville, Metro Police say a woman was attacked Friday morning while out for a walk on the Mill Creek Greenway in Antioch. Police say a man came up from behind around 9:15. The victim fought off and escaped with minor injuries. Investigators still searching for the suspect. They're asking anyone with information to call Crime Stoppers. This assault happened on the same trail where Alyssa Lockett was killed in 2024, raising renewed concerns about greenway safety in Nashville. Authorities are offering up to $10,000 for information in the shooting death of Fisk University student Andre Bell. Bell was killed January 11th while driving on I-65 North near the 440 East Junction. Investigators say a dark-colored sedan pulled alongside his white Nissan Sentra. Someone in that sedan opened fire. Anyone with information urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Overseas criminals said to be hijacking Google reviews and targeting small businesses here in Middle Tennessee. A Centerville wedding photographer says scammers flooded her page with fake one-star reviews after she refused to pay them. The attackers then sent threatening messages demanding money to make the posts stop. Experts say the scheme is part of a wider extortion effort operating from overseas. And with criminals constantly searching for new ways to steal your money, 2026 is expected to be another year for heavy losses amid a growing threat landscape for consumers. Cybersecurity company Iris says scammers netted over $64 billion last year, with 7 in 10 Americans affected in some way.
This is Jim Ryan. Just last week, a 19-year-old in North Texas was arrested on charges of ripping off customers at the McDonald's where he worked. Police say Giovanni Blount would process legitimate credit card transactions, then use a personal device to tap the card again, charging an additional $10 to $20 per transaction. Investigators say Blount netted about $700 before he was caught. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And the college football championship happens tonight. Fans flocking to Miami, that is, as the hometown team, the Hurricanes, host the Hoosiers.
Indiana rolls into Hard Rock Stadium as heavy favorites thanks to their Heisman-winning quarterback and likely first overall NFL draft pick, Fernando Mendoza, whose jersey says Indiana, but whose heart says Miami. Having grown up just down the street from the University of Miami, he now has the chance to win it all in his backyard. Oh, and stick it to his hometown team that passed on him as a recruit, too.
Although it means a lot to myself, it's a national championship. It would just mean so much for everybody around.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. It's available to listen to anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial. You can watch us as well. Super Talk TV is active. YouTube and Rumble are the big ones, but also Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. Minnesota over the weekend was insane, but Sunday morning was taking it to a completely unhinged next level as Don Lemon implanted and embedded himself with some leftist protesters as they decided to go target a Baptist church in the Minneapolis area, which is disgusting. But with what we know of leftists, not surprising at all. This is what it sounded like inside the church as Don Lemon was giving play-by-play.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution. When you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt. It's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something.
So that was Don Lemon over the weekend inside a Baptist church in the Minneapolis area. Huh. That's what you have to do. That's what it's all about. You know who's against people running up inside churches? It was Tim Waltz. Western Lensman pulled this clip from a few months back.
So I would fully expect, and we are preparing for, an influx of more agents, more of the very visible public theatrics of the raids, of the harassments. And you got faith leaders here. I would not put it past this administration to target midnight mass services amongst folks going to worship.
Oh, would you put it past the leftist protesters? I think that's a real question. You know, so far, I haven't seen any condemnation of what happened at that church from Jacob Fry, Tim Waltz, Ilhan Omar, any of the leftists that support the outright lawlessness that we saw over the weekend in Minnesota, don't you know? They don't seem to be worried about this at all. But what happened inside that church was chaotic. It was unhinged. These people need to be in a jail cell. Let's listen to this. This is about a minute and a half. This is what the protesters, besides chanting ice out, like the people in the church have anything to do with it. This is what one of the unhinged leftist protesters was yelling at churchgoers, family members, senior citizens in attendance at this Baptist church.
As you can see, all these pretend Christians, all these comfortable white people who are living lavish, comfortable lives while children are dragged into concentration camps. You're living real life, nice lives with your lattes, doing absolutely nothing for your Latino and Somali brothers and sisters.
Just for starters, how do you know that they have comfortable lives? How do you know that they're not out there on the front lines in the protests? How do you know that they're not standing up for the Somalis and Latinos? What are you doing? What are these people doing? Living a comfortable life. Doing nothing for your Somali brothers and your Latino brothers. No, you're doing plenty, sir, to sway opinion. Didn't you used to want to bring people over to your side and win people over? How many individuals do you think were won over by this group inside this church? This wasn't even all of it. He keeps going, and he's just lambasting people for being Christian, calling them fake Christians. We hear this all the time as Christians, by the way, so it's not shocking. But to see it and the brazenness to just put it on video and act like he's some superhero out here.
You come here to a man wearing a suit is a preacher? Did Jesus wear a suit? Did Jesus profit off the words? No! Jesus would dine with immigrants. Do not touch me. Touch me again and see what happens.
Hey, you can't. Don't be.
You are a fake Christian. Why are you not standing with your Somali and Latino communities? Why do I not see you out at Whipple every day protesting this attack on humanity? Where are you? You're sinners. You're pretending to be Christians, but we know you live an easy life, don't you?
How do you know? How do you know? that they live an easy life because they're wearing a collared shirt. You have no idea what's going on in these people's lives. It's ridiculous. You know, churches actually house a lot of broken people. I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of people that want to go there and fix what's wrong, and they want to use God's help. You're living a perfect life? Oh, my gosh. This unhinged lunatic breaking into a church wearing an F Trump hat, screaming at the people that are going there. Screaming. Harmeet Dillon announced that they are investigating potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by the people desecrating this house of worship and interfering with Christian worshipers. Pam Bondi is looking into it. Harmeet Dillon is looking into it. Caroline Levitt on X saying President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians and their sacred place of worship. The Department of Justice has launched a full investigation into the despicable incident that took place earlier today at a church in Minnesota. So I would ask you, do these individuals deserve the same treatment that the pro-lifers did when they were praying and singing in an abortion clinic? Because they got woken up to 2 a.m. raids by the Biden DOJ. Should the same happen here? I think at least for this guy, that should happen.
A very easy life while people are starving. Shame. Out now. Out now.
Shouting out now, chasing these people out of the church. Don Lemon was there. He was embedded in the protesters. He thought this would be good for clicks, and he's getting the clicks. He wanted to interview the churchgoers to see what they thought about the protest, and he does it in a way that only Don Lemon can.
I don't necessarily agree with everything that's going on in the Twin Cities right now, but I don't think it's good to fight fire with fire. I think it's good to speak up. I think it's good to protest, but I think it's better to do it in a peaceful way. I don't think the answer is going into God's church.
You don't think this is peaceful?
You don't think this is peaceful? No, actually, I don't. Some strange man bursting up into my church and screaming in my face. No, I don't necessarily think that's peaceful. I also don't understand why you chose the church. Again, even from this interview, the guy's like, I don't necessarily agree with everything going on here. Are you winning people over, or are you pushing them away? I think you're doing the latter.
Well, it's trespassing.
Nobody fighting.
It's trespassing. How would you feel if I went to your house and I started yelling?
It depends on what I did, but not in my house. That's a whole different thing. I think these people would go inside of anybody's house.
Well, this is a house of God.
Which makes it everybody's house.
Yes, it is. But in a house, people don't yell at each other.
Yeah, but there's a lot of yelling in my house growing up. We still loved each other.
Yeah, we understand that you had a messed up childhood, Don. It's apparent. Like we get it. We get it. But no, you're trespassing on private property. You're causing a disturbance. You're focused on intimidation and harassment. You have no business being here. And this guy, I mean, to his credit, very, very calm talking with Don. But he says, well, they wouldn't come in my house. I don't think these people would come in anybody's house. Are you sure about that? Are you sure? The level of insanity, mind-numbing.
There was a lot of yelling in my house growing up. We still loved each other.
Yeah, but that doesn't necessarily mean that yelling is the answer, right?
I'm sorry?
That doesn't necessarily mean yelling is the answer, right?
No, but I think it's the way you work things out is that you talk to each other, you disagree. Sometimes it's heated, sometimes it's not. But at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And I think maybe if the pastor would try to calm things down and say, let's all talk together.
Yeah, it's you know what? You're right, Don. The pastor should really get a hold of the unhinged protesters. That's his responsibility, right? While he's trying to hold a Sunday worship service, it is now his responsibility to calm down the unhinged leftists who are screaming at them, calling them fake Christians. Got it. Don doesn't like Christians. I think that's perfectly apparent here. His flippant attitude, the way he laughs it all off, even outside the church as women and children were fleeing because they completely felt unsafe. And who would feel safe in that situation? He essentially laughs off the fact that kids look traumatized.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. And, you know, I've imagined it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery, not kidding. That's what protesting is about.
Yeah, that's what protesting is about, guys. Just if you're taking notes on how to protest, making it traumatic for children is key, actually. And watch your step. Am I the only one that wished Don had fallen and busted his ass on the ice? Maybe it's just me. He was talking with churchgoers. He also had a moment to talk to the pastor of the church. This is the pastor who they say is ICE affiliated. I don't know if he is or isn't, but does that make a difference? I don't think so. He had the interview with the pastor inside the church after those leftists stormed the place.
This is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship.
But there were folks who will...
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
Yeah. We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world.
There's a First Amendment right to protest. Well, you're messing with our First Amendment right to worship. And again, you're not winning anybody over. So that was Don Lemon with the pastor. Now he interviews another churchgoer. And this guy, he just tells him as plainly as he can, buddy, you emptied the place. Everybody left. So the point that they were trying to make is now worthless. So you're losing the argument.
These people have come into our house and they've interrupted our worship. This is a house of peace, and we try to proclaim that. And this stirs division and rancor. And in the end, it's not helpful. Ultimately, I believe they've lost. They've emptied a house of worship. Everybody's gone home. Their point has been proven worthless. And so, in the end, I think they lose.
In the end, they lose. You're not winning anybody over. Again, a protest, you're supposed to bring some people over to your side. That's not what happened on Sunday morning in Minnesota. Not at all. This guy nails it. Everybody left. So in the end, you lose. Pastors now nationwide are calling for the DOJ to bring criminal charges under the FACE Act against Don Lemon and these protesters.
Today in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a group of activists led by Don Lemon stormed a Baptist church by the name of Cities Church during their worship time. They were screaming and chanting, disrupting the singing and the preaching because they suspected an ICE officer may attend the church. This is a violation of what is known as the FACE Act, and not only do we condemn this act, but tonight, I want to demand that the Department of Justice investigate what took place in Minneapolis, apprehend those who broke the law, and arrest them accordingly.
Yeah, I think we all want to see that. And again, it's important to point out Harmeet Dillon, Attorney General Pam Bondi are investigating potential violations of the Federal FACE Act by these leftist lunatics who interfered with the worship service on Sunday morning. Caroline Leavitt on X, President Trump will not tolerate the intimidation and harassment of Christians in their sacred place of worship. DOJ has launched a full investigation into this despicable incident that took place at this church in Minneapolis. Byron Donalds was talking about it. You hear Don Lemon, well, you have a First Amendment right to protest. And it's like, yeah, but you also trampled the First Amendment right to worship your God. And Byron Donalds made that point on Fox just this morning.
I mean, these agitators who, by the way, they are paid, folks.
Yep.
America, they are paid to do this kind of mess. These are the people who will say they have a First Amendment right to speak, but they just trampled on the First Amendment right of that church to be able to worship. That's what they're doing right now, and this is completely unacceptable. But let's be very clear. President Trump and his administration, they're not going to bend the knee to the mob, because that's what the mayor of Minneapolis wants. That's what Tim Walz and Gavin Newsom, these other crazy governors, that's what they want. The Democrats have no solutions about protecting the United States, protecting their people, or having orderly legal immigration into the United States.
Byron Donalds making too much sense. You know, it's funny. We've had CNN on in the studio all morning. Matt Murphy leaves it on in case you're keeping score at home. None of us turn it on. It appears. But you know what I haven't seen on the Chiron at all? You know what story they haven't touched at all? The fact that these leftists invaded a church on Sunday morning. Because even at their core, a lot of these leftists and these propagandists at these mainstream media networks understand that this is going to be viewed very negatively. It's not a good look. You're losing the battle when you're invading church services. 1,500 troops are on standby, waiting for the moment that Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act. After everything we've seen this past weekend, conservative activist Jake Lang being bloodied, Nick Sorter being robbed, countless other conservatives harmed, police nowhere to be found, a church service being interrupted by unhinged lunatics. What more do you need to see, Mr. President, invoke that Insurrection Act now? It's 11:22. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friend Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, over there at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're dealing with back pain, neck pain, sciatica, herniated or bulging discs, knee pain, maybe some numbness in your arms or legs, you need to talk to Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley over at the Wellness Institute. They're the first and only office in Tennessee with a brand new device called the HydroWave. It stimulates stem cells for real cellular healing, no surgery, no needles, no injections. You pair that with the non-surgical spinal and knee decompression, and this is about as advanced as it gets. These guys are going to use anti-gravity machines, robotic lasers. They're going to actually take the time to review your MRI and explain what's happening and then how to fix it. And they're not going to fix it with opioids or surgery or injections. You can get back to a pain-free life in 2026. It starts today with a phone call to the Wellness Institute of Nashville, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or find them online, painisbad.com.
All right, drivers in Antioch still have only the left lane open, eastbound 24 at Hickory Hollow Parkway for a crash. That is now a 23-minute delay. And a woman is attacked on the same Nashville Greenway where Alyssa Lockett was killed. Hear what police are urging the public to do next, coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. It's 11:27 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So the weekend was crazy in Minnesota. Crazy. The church stuff, conservatives getting beaten and robbed, bloodied. No police anywhere to be found. Something that kept popping up over and over on social media that I saw, which I'm sure you saw as well, leftists in Minneapolis getting armed and standing guard against ICE. I saw this a couple times. Now, being a pro 2A kind of guy, I don't have any issue with them having the firearms. I don't, and I think that it is a bit hypocritical to say that they shouldn't have their firearms. I do. I understand the concern. I completely understand the concern. I mean, as conservatives, we understand who's catching the bullets, right? It's not leftists, but leftists seem very eager and happy and willing to pull those triggers, whether they're on the roof of a building in Dallas aiming at ICE officials or on the roof of a Utah university aiming at Charlie Kirk. It seems like they have no issue pulling the trigger. I think that they would find themselves in a world of hurt very, very quickly if one of them did decide to pull the trigger. But we got scenes like this in Minnesota.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You live in the neighborhood? Yep, this is my block. This is my area. I don't go into other people's neighborhoods and try and intimidate them. I protect my people.
He's protecting his people. He's wearing a knit hat like he's Renee Nicole Good. That's great. There's another one where a young scholar, a future engineer, future doctor, was seen sitting on the trunk of a car, also brandishing a weapon. Again, I'm not necessarily against them brandishing weapons, but I wonder what the leftists in control think, because we have many different times heard their opinions on guns and gun violence. This is the governor of Minnesota. I wonder if he would bring the same energy to the leftist protesters with firearms.
Guns and the wrong types of guns on the street. And I don't want to hear, how do you define assault weapon? I damn sure can assign what it is and describe what it is and tell you what it does. There's too damn many guns and the wrong types of guns on the street.
It's too many. There's too many. Do you think he'll bring the same energy for the leftists bringing firearms?
I doubt he'll say anything.
Just like he won't condemn the church protest. I use that with air quotes, protest, as they broke in and were shouting and screaming on private property. Rules for thee, but not for me. Once again, with leftists in control. Things are going to get worse before they get better in Minnesota. I think everybody understands that. I will continue to pray that Donald Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, because I think that is one of the quickest ways to solve this before things get too out of hand. It's 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top story. Still got a 29-minute delay if you're eastbound 24 in Antioch. Only the left lane is open. They're at Hickory Hollow Parkway. This is due to a crash, so get over to the left as soon as possible. This is backed up all the way to Haywood Lane. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Metro Police are investigating an assault on the Mill Creek Greenway after a woman says she was attacked from behind during her morning walk on Friday. She managed to get away and call 911. She suffered only minor injuries. Officers say the attack is troubling because this is the same path where runner Alyssa Lockett was killed 2 years ago. The community remains on edge as the search for the suspect continues. A $10,000 reward now available as police search for the gunman who killed 20-year-old Fisk University student Andre Bell. Bell was returning from a gymnastics event when he was shot on I-65 North, causing his car to crash into traffic. Police believe the shooter was in a dark sedan that continued down the road. Tips can be submitted anonymously to Crime Stoppers. And the search continues for the gunman who opened fire inside an iconic New Orleans restaurant, killing one, wounding three. ABC's Jim Ryan says police are appealing to the public for help there in the Big Easy.
Dookie Chase has been a mainstay in the Treme section of New Orleans for over 70 years. On Friday, a man ran through the front door.
He was being shot at as he was trying to escape.
New Orleans Police Superintendent Dan Kirkpatrick says the 19-year-old victim, identified as Kareem Harris, may have worked at Dookie Chase.
And that's why it was probably a safe place he was thinking he was running into to take shelter.
Harris was killed and 3 tourists were wounded, one critically. Police are studying security video from nearby businesses as they try to identify a suspect. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. Anytime we get rain or water in the area, it's going to expose the weak spots in your home fast. Water in a basement or crawl space can come from drainage issues, foundation cracks, or hidden leaks. And guessing wrong could actually cost you thousands of dollars. This is where USS comes in. These guys don't guess. Their team's going to identify the source of the problem, design a waterproofing plan tailored to your home, done right the first time, and backed by a lifetime warranty. These guys have been serving Middle Tennessee since 1994, treating customers like neighbors, not numbers. This is a big difference. Protect what matters. Call the guys that do the best work, United Structural Systems. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. The water damage isn't going to fix itself. The foundation problems aren't going to get cheaper, and waiting is only going to make things worse. Talk to these guys today. Find them online, USSTN.com. It's 11:36 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Appreciate you guys being here, joining the show. However you're watching or listening, iHeartRadio, tune in, the FM dial, Super Talk TV, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble. What is this song?
It's that one that I told you about the other day that I was adding in.
Feels like RoboCop on ecstasy.
That's funny. No, it's a 21 Pilots song. I tried to.
Okay.
I was
Sorry.
like, I didn't know if it fit the vibe.
I don't know if you guys know this.
A little bit of
Mason is the biggest 21 Pilots fan
maybe
on the entire planet.
Yeah. No, I would say the biggest on the planet. There are so many more that are.
You're pretty big
on the station. Yeah. Anywhere on the planet, there are people who know every song by word, know the lore, all the fun. It's a little overwhelming, but
they know the lore.
Yeah,
there's 21 Pilots lore.
Yep, it's all the albums are like a story set through, and it's got a world that it's set in. I'm not going to dive into it because we have something more important coming out.
We do. I will say this: is it Car Radio or Car Stereo?
Car Radio.
Car Radio is a great song.
I love it.
Same with We Don't Believe What's on TV.
Yep.
There's some good 21 Pilots tracks.
Yeah, it's cool. They're also Christians.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, low key, they're a Christian band.
They're a Christian band. You listen to the lyrics, and like they have some like influence on it, but they're Christians who make music, not Christians who make Christian music. And
Which
that's
is a
important
key
to keep
distinction.
In mind.
Yep. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this one.
It's fine. I'll drop it. I'm throwing stuff in.
I like it.
I'm trying to find something that works.
Keep going. More of like a Biggie guy myself.
Yeah, I assumed.
Yeah.
All
right. Time for the lightning round.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
Mason's upset. Mason's mad at me.
No, I'm fine. I just think it's funny for those who are watching on YouTube. Every time this intro plays, Chris's head is swaying back and forth to the music. He's like,
but the music plays on the stream for this.
Yeah,
because it's royalty free.
But I'm saying for people who are watching,
I love
to see your little happy dance that you do over there.
I do a happy dance every time we do the lightning round. Hey, you might have missed this if you were paying too much attention to the Minnesota protests over the weekend. But turns out the Trump administration was busy over the weekend. Blew up another terrorist. Did you know that?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, we blew up an Al-Qaeda guy. Here we go.
Breaking news on Fox. Central Command has just announced that U.S. forces have killed a terrorist leader affiliated with Al-Qaeda in Syria. CENTCOM says the militant had direct ties to an ISIS terrorist responsible for the ambush that killed 2 U.S. service members and an American interpreter last month. CENTCOM launched large-scale strikes on Syria after they lost their lives in that attack.
Huge fan. Big thumbs, two thumbs up from the Chris Hand Show on blowing up terrorists. I don't think anybody would be mad about that, unless you're a radical Islamist. So then it might be a bit touchy if you happen to be a member of Al-Qaeda in Syria. I think that would probably be the only way that you would be upset about this. Pete Hegseth's Department of War, President Trump blowing up Al-Qaeda affiliate leader in Syria, avenging our service members. Revenge. I'm here for it. I got another story for you here in the lightning round. Scott Bessent was on Meet the Press over the weekend, and they talked about a bunch of stuff. They talked about Greenland. They talked about all the things, right? But I caught this clip, and it made me chuckle. Kristen Welker was trying to give him the business. She's like, "Yo, you gotta lay off Jerome Powell and the renovations. You know, it's only $1.5 billion overrun on the cost. No big deal." And then Kristen Welker said, "Well, what about all the renovations that Trump is doing? What about the ballroom? He put in some flagpoles. That's my best Kristen Welker.
It's pretty spot on.
It's pretty good, I think. Scott Bessent. It's like calm down. She said, "What about all those construction projects?" And Scott just said, "Well, I'll tell you about those construction projects."
The White House are not the $700 million, more than $1 billion, $1.5 billion, the over budget, Kristen. And the White House, that is being paid for with private funds. If I want to if I want to buy a new chair for my office at Treasury, that is an appropriation. Just to understand, the Federal Reserve has magic money. They print their own money. So when you have no oversight, why not have a little sunlight? Kristen, I have called since last summer for the Fed to do its own internal investigation, and that has not been heeded. Not been heeded. And again, I don't know about you. When I receive if I were to receive inquiries from the Justice Department, I would answer them. They went unanswered.
Ooh, Scott, the costs aren't that bad. It's only $1.5 billion over. What about what Trump is doing? Yes, it's all privately funded, under budget, ahead of schedule. Ugh. Got another story for you here in the lightning round. Mason's on the phone. In the lightning round, Mason, I need lightning, Mason. He's not going to give me lightning. He did okay at the news this morning. But on the lightning front, he's severely lacking currently. I'm just going to be perfectly honest with you guys. There's room for improvement, and I'll talk to him about it after the show. Next story in the lightning round. Trump wants all eyes on the Army-Navy football game, and he's going to sign an executive order banning the broadcast of any other college football game during the Army-Navy game, making the game making it a game day exclusive for the historic matchup. Trump posted this on Truth Social over the weekend, Saturday night. He said, the Army-Navy game is one of our greatest American traditions, unmatched patriotism, courage, and honor. This incredible tradition is now at risk of being pushed aside by more college playoff games and big TV money. Not anymore, the president wrote. Under my administration, the second Saturday in December belongs to Army-Navy and only Army-Navy. I will soon sign a historic executive order securing an exclusive 4-hour broadcast window so this national event stands above commercial postseason games. No other game or team can violate this time slot, he continued. Based. He said, on the field, they are rivals, but on the battlefield, they're America's unstoppable patriots defending our country with tremendous strength and heart. We must protect the tradition and the players who protect us. Please let this serve as notice to all television networks, stations, and outlets. God bless America, and God bless our great Army-Navy game, he concluded. Many on social media were pretty pumped about this. I'll be honest with you. I'm not like one way either or, but my father-in-law, West Point grad, he loves the Army-Navy football game. So for that reason, put me in a pro executive order category for this. I think it's a good thing. Give the guys their due time and credit, and this is what they're doing. Historic executive order. Nobody else can play during the Army-Navy game. Mason's off the phone now. You missed the lightning on that last one there.
Sorry, getting phone calls.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it after the game, after the show. All right?
Don't hit me again.
Okay. Got another story for you here in the lightning round.
I'm in danger.
It's true. This is actually, it's anecdotal. Let's be perfectly honest. This is what you're about to hear is anecdotal.
Fair.
But I believe it. Emergency room doctor doing an interview said that he was seeing a dozen fentanyl overdoses a day, a dozen. And with President Trump's closing of the border, the strikes on the narco terrorists and the such, those numbers have plummeted to 1-2 a day tops. And sometimes they're going 3 days without seeing a fentanyl overdose. And I just got to ask, is this good? This is what we wanted, right? I think this is pretty good.
I will tell you something that I haven't said publicly yet, and it deserves to be said. We were seeing 10 to 12 overdoses a day, and we are seeing maybe 1 or 2. Sometimes we go 3 days without seeing an overdose of fentanyl. So closing our borders and doing the things that he is doing, I am 100% behind. It really has made America better in the healthcare system, in the war against drugs.
Is it being replaced by any sort of drug? Are you seeing more of another sort of overdose? Is there some, like, because I'm thinking,
It's a good
You know,
question.
the cartel isn't just going to give up, right? So is there a drug that they're able to get to the streets easier now that the border's closed and he's blowing up ships? So what are you seeing?
Well, methamphetamines is always easier to make here.
Yeah.
And we have seen maybe a slight increase in methamphetamines, but the significant drop in fentanyl overdoses is the most significant thing.
Huge drop in fentanyl overdoses, according to one emergency room doctor. I wonder if we're seeing that here locally too. If you're an emergency room doctor, feel free to jump into the text line and weigh in on that conversation. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. I got another story for you here in the lightning round. There it is. Who wouldn't want to take their family to a Broadway musical in New York City? Okay, it's me.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're at the top of that list.
I am the one. My daughter would love to do it, too. This is going to be something I'll be like, hey, this is why we don't do it. Transgender Bud Light killer Dylan Mulvaney is back.
Oh.
And he's set to make his Broadway debut.
Don't put that on Broadway, though.
Oh, it's going to be on Broadway.
It's their fault.
It's the production 6, the musical. And he's going to play Anne Boleyn. Red State reports the official X account for 6 enthusiastically announced the news on Friday with an oblique reference to Boleyn's beheading. Losing our heads to introduce you to our newest Anne Boleyn. Show some royal love to Queen Dylan Mulvaney, who will be joining 6 Broadway 5.0 cast as Anne Boleyn starting on February 16th. You know what's a good opening day for that? I would circle February 31st on the calendar, and I would say that's when you guys should do it. Others were less convinced of this piece of woke trans casting, with the tiny 29-year-old playing the second wife of King Henry VIII. It's going to be better now with more penis. It's just, I don't understand. I thought we were done with the insanity, but we're not done with the insanity.
Nah.
6 is about the 6 wives of Henry VIII. Made its official Broadway opening night, October 3rd, 2021. It won the 2022 Tony for Best Original Score and the Outer Critics Circle Award for Best Musical. Daily Mail reports the musical reimagines the wives as a modern pop girl group, reclaiming their identities through high-energy musical numbers. The show's official materials describe the wives as stepping out of the shadow of their infamous spouse to tell their stories on their own terms, reportedly positioning the production as a celebration of women's voices and 21st girls' century power. Mulvaney's love of the spotlight is well known, goes back to the first time he came to public attention in 2023 for endorsing Bud Light in a bathtub. Now we got him. He's going to be King Henry's wife, Anne Boleyn. It's good. It's good. Everybody clapped. Stunning and brave. Got time for one more story here in the lightning round. The European nations are really worried about the acquisition of Greenland. They're all lining up. They're talking tough when it comes to Donald Trump. But I feel like they have more problems at home than they're willing to admit. And I saw this headline from Breitbart last night, and I went, aha, I wish that they would focus more on this than on Greenland. Demographic winter. France sees more deaths than births for the first time since World War II. The number of deaths outpaced the number of births in France for the first time since the Second World War and 10 years before the official French National Statistics Bureau had projected. Data published by the French National Institute of Statistics and Economic Studies on Tuesday revealed that there were 651,000 deaths in 2025, an increase of 1.5% over the last year. The official statistician attributed this increase to a particularly deadly winter flu at the start of the year. However, this trend is likely to continue, with 2026 marking the first year in which the members of the baby boom generation will reach the age of 80 in France. The head of the Demographic and Social Studies Unit at NISEE, Sylvia Lee Menez, said per Le Figaro. Meanwhile, there was a 2.1% decline in births, 645,000 babies being born in 2025. This marked the lowest level since 1942 and represented a 24% drop since the last high in 2010. My big question here, how many of those births were actually French? I know it's a bit troubling of a question to ask and not a question that you're supposed to ask. So is the most popular baby name in France still Mohammed? Asking for a friend. Ooh. I'm just saying. Like, the demographic replacement is real. And if these European nations want to continue to be European nations, they need to get that under control before they worry about things like Greenland and stopping the Orange Man. This is a far greater threat to the people of France than anybody wants to give any credit to. And if you dove into those numbers, I'd be willing to bet that the number of Muslim births outnumber the French births. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's what my gut tells me. It's 11:52. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 11:57, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. Mason Fleming producing. Have you heard about the snow? Chad Benson's in the studio, by the way. Have you heard about the snow coming on Saturday?
I'm super excited about it.
15 to 18 inches is what Apple Maps is telling me.
So
or Apple Weather.
Apple
and then
Maps.
Apple Maps is telling me all sorts of crazy things. I'm like, stop talking to me. But and then other people are mad. They're like, no, don't listen to Crapple.
Don't listen to Crapple? What are we listening to?
Android, apparently.
Yeah, the Droid.
5 to 8 inches.
The Droid.
Even if it's 5 to 8 inches,
That's
5
still,
to 8 inches is the same as 15 to 18.
It's still
around here.
it's still a nice little dump right here. I mean,
I can't wait.
This is it. My kids are super excited, but then they go, you know what? We've been told there's going to be snow before, so I don't think it's coming.
Well, didn't you guys make an igloo last year?
Yeah, we did. My daughter, that thing stood for days up until the drunk college girls crashed into it.
This is what I pray for. I pray that we get good snow fort snow because there's a difference.
Yes.
There's a huge difference. We made a massive snow fort. I want that again.
Yeah, there was. I mean, it was watching my stepdaughter and Charlie out there building these, and they're in shorts because like every time we get on the ground, anyways, to build these things, our knees and everything get sopping wet, so we're just going to build around it. And they built this thing, and it was awesome. And then about 3 days, still up for 2 or 3, 4 days later, you get some drunk girls out there partying, falling into it, and you're like, you idiots. But I'm pumped. I'm hoping.
Do you have a no drunk girls sign ready to go for the new fort?
This year we're going to.
Okay, good.
Yeah, take a picture from a distance. If you're hammered, stay away.
I can't wait. Like, I'm downright giddy about some snow.
Yeah, it was nice and cool today, and I'm looking around, like even yesterday watching the football games, right? I mean, how about the Chicago and out there in Boston?
Yeah.
Just snowapalooza.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I wish there was more snow on the ground.
Yeah, last night, though, that was some snow in Chicago.
I remember a Patriots game growing up where it's like they brought a snow plow on the field.
Dude, that guy was on work release.
To kick a field goal.
He was on work release, too, from jail, and he drove straight across. He's like, what do I got to lose?
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
And the NFL was like, I don't know if that was regulation.
I don't think it was.
I don't either.
That was so awesome.
What are you talking about today?
We're talking a little bit about the weather, obviously, what kind of effect it's going to have. It's a quiet day outside of Don Lemon doing his lemony stuff. Everybody's looking, you know what, now that he's an influencer, he's as absurd as so many other ones.
You're absolutely right. What a crazy story. How many people do you think they won over with their church protests?
None. Of course, there was nobody in the church, so it really didn't matter. That was the other sad thing.
I know.
I got to get back to the person that came here to listen to me preach.
That was awful. It's awful.
So we'll talk about that. We got some other stuff. Talk about Greenland.
Huge fan of taking it.
Not a fan of taking it. So ridiculous.
I'm a huge fan.
So ridiculous.
No, it's basically ours.
It's so ridiculous.
We just haven't paid for it yet.
What did they say? You will sell it to you?
Like when I know I'm going to a store and I'm going to get shoes, the shoes are already mine. I just haven't bought them yet. That's how.
What
I feel
if they
about
tell you
Greenland.
the shoes you expect to spend $100, and they say, "Yeah, we'll sell it to you, but it's going to be $1,000."
Do I have the weight of the U.S. military behind me?
You're just going to take them.
Chad's in next. It's 12 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.